I actually helped her move to Chicago. We drove up, I went out to Tucson and we packed up our car and drove all the way to Chicago.
She and Joe are the brother and sister that everybody wishes that they had that brother or sister. Like, they're super tight, and he's super funny too.
We parked outside her friend's building and we're like, is it all right to leave all this stuff in the car? It was packed up with everything, and yeah. Next morning, everything was stolen. The car was broken into, and it was just like, welcome to Chicago.
When I moved to Chicago, I moved and did a play, which was great. The only play that Kurt Vonnegut ever wrote, called Happy Birthday, 1 to June. And Kurt Vonnegut actually came to see it, which was really cool because he lived in Indiana. So he did it at this little black box theater called Stage Left, which is no longer there. But it was amazing. Obviously, I was a huge Kurt Vonnegut fan anyway, and so to have him actually come and see the play was crazy. It was really exciting.
She got very active there. I know that she started working at the Piven Theater Workshop.
My parents were doing a show. They were both in it. My dad was directing, and Kate was in it as well. And I think that was the first time I saw or met Kate. My dad had talked about her and said she was wonderful. She was in this show. I think it was like a bunch of Harold Pinter pieces together.
That's when I sat up and I said, ooh, wow. Who is that? She's so comfortable on stage. She seems to know where she is.
Their work was based on Viola Spolin and theater games, and so it was really comfortable. And Bird and Piven was just, I felt like I'd come home.
You can't teach a person how to act. They either know how to act or they don't. What you can do, however, is to provide an environment in which they can exercise that talent, that theater gene. And that's what happened with Kate. And that's why she felt she was at home.
Kate was amazing in Born Guilty. She played the daughter of a man who she discovered had been a Nazi.
It was a powerful production and a powerful script. My daughter directed it, and it was about post-war Germany. And Kate dyed her hair blonde for that, which was a startling surprise, but it just showed how far she could go at that young age.
The play was amazing, and we workshopped it for a long time. And I had, actually, when I was waitressing at La Crêperie, I had this Alfred, this old Austrian man who would come in and help me, coach me on my accent.
I think that was really her first big play in Chicago, and she was written up in the Wall Street Journal, and so she got a lot of, attention from the beginning.
It was an amazing experience, and totally transformed. That's really what acting is, like when you can lose yourself in a role that's nothing like you are.
I directed her in production of Virginia Woolf's Orlando, and she played the role of the Queen, Queen Elizabeth. I remember so many moments of Kate right into my eyes asking me, oh, well, do you think I could do this? What do you think about that? What do you think about this aspect of Elizabeth? She was so curious and so creative, exploring that role on a one-to-one basis, that it was exhilarating for me.
There was The Danube, which was a Maria Irene Forney's one-act play. And talk about dark, yeah. It was not so funny, but very kind of about nuclear holocaust, that play. Really interesting play. And Kate loved it. Like, we both kind of had the same sensibility. We both loved that play.
It was an amazing, amazing piece. Very avant-garde, but very cool.
In that play, she's doing pretty strange stuff. She's doing like robotic, repetitive. It was like not the kind of play you're doing if you're looking to get cast in movies or impress agents.
Yeah.
And that's what was so cool about Kate, was she would just do stuff because she thought it was cool.
I think I first met Kate at Piven, and then Kate came and did some new crime workshops with us, just doing some commedia dell'arte improvisational stuff. And then we knew each other, and we're in the same social circles, and then I got fired from my first waiting job, and I bumped into Kate.
There were so many sad, dirt poor, freezing cold Chicago stories.
It was February in Chicago, and we were broke, and the heat was broken in the car, and she couldn't pay her rent, and she was upset, and I wasn't happy either, and we're all bundled up, and it was tough, And we were sitting on set recently, and that story came up, and we just both, giggled and smiled and said, how lucky we were. I feel so lucky to have her around. It gives me such perspective on those cold days,
She came to New York and she was like, I am not going to work. She was hell-bent on like, I'm going to make a living as an actress. And so she moved into my apartment that was probably about as big as this chair.
And then I remember staying one night in that apartment with her and a friend of ours, and the apartment was like a postage stamp. It was so small.
When Shira and I moved to New York, we did this long-form improv group called Burn Manhattan, which she had started with 5 guys, and then I came into. And we'd all wear suits, men's suits, including me. And we would start just sitting in chairs. And it was completely improvised. Like, we wouldn't even take, most improv, you take a suggestion or a word from the audience. This was completely organic. We'd sit there and just, be there. And then when the spirit moved us, we'd go. And it sounds like it could be disastrous, but it wasn't. It worked. It worked, amazingly well.
We loved each other so much. It was a pact of love. I love you. Oh, yeah.
She would do whatever was interesting or whatever kind of struck her, even with comedy, like some of the improv she did.
Like Model Trapper is totally like that.
One little thing that we had worked on that was a character she had developed, this character, Model Trapper.
Oh, yeah. The Model Trapper. Yes.
You gotta find the models when they're young, because they only got about 10 years on them if they're lucky, and that's starting from puberty.
That was so much fun. We came up with that. Actually, it was like Amy Poehler, my friend Joanne Morrison in New York City, and we were walking around one day, and we were in Soho, and we were looking around all the models. There were all these models, and it's Soho, and we were like, God, there's so many models. There's a surplus on them. Someone needs to trap them and relocate them back into the wild.
You don't even need chicken wire or anything, because, they don't really struggle much.
Who's the biggest model you ever trapped?
Probably one name you might recognize is Paulina Portskova. I didn't trap her.
We did a short film of this, and it was of indeterminate gender, facial hair, very odd character. And Kate would do anything like that.
The root of it was always becoming somebody else and stretching and becoming weird. You can do anything if you're an actor, and you don't get judged. You're just like, I'm going to be a guy. I'm going to play a guy or some androgynous figure that traps models. Yeah, I'm going to do that. I think you'll find it entertaining.
She had a raucous, dark sense of humor. And so we right away were like, oh my God, that chick is cool.
And then I started hitting in television. I got my first pilot, and it was for ABC, actually, and it was called Missing Links, and it was based on this book by Rick Riley, and it was sort of a Caddyshack meets Tin Cup. It didn't get picked up, but it was my first pilot, first half hour, and it was very exciting. So that brought me to LA, and then I went back to New York, and then I kept going back and forth, auditioning, and then the big thing was I got Drew Carey, the Drew Carey Show.
My casting director, Mark Sachs, came to me and said, I've got the